I'm going to tell you everything you need to know today to board a Disney cruise like a pro. Boarding day is a lot of fun. You want to make sure everything goes smooth though. We're going to start off with the most important thing. Number 1, any testing that you may need. There are a couple of things you really want to be sure that you do before you leave home. As soon as you book your cruise, download their Navigator app. This will have your reservation. You can do your online check-in in here. It's going to have a fun countdown, and you are going to need it for the cruise, so just go ahead and have it already and familiarize yourself with it. You also want to make sure you go to the Know Before You Go section of Disney Cruise Line's website. This is where you can find out about their enhanced health and safety measures, whatever tests might be needed, vaccines might be needed, and you're going to go into this by region because every country has a little bit different rules right now, and they are phasing some of these requirements out, so just make sure that you go to the Know Before You Go section so you know what is required for your sailing. You also are going to find out in here about the online check-in. You want to make sure you complete that before you sail. They say at least 1 day prior. I say as soon as it's open to book, because that way you can get the earliest arrival time available for you. The online check-in is a step-by-step process. It will include filling out your important cruise documents, selecting your port arrival time, and again, do that in advance because you also want to print out those documents to take with you to the port. Please be aware that guests will not be permitted at the terminal or in parking areas before their scheduled arrival time. Guests who arrive early will be asked to return at their scheduled arrival time, and guests arriving after their scheduled time may be delayed and asked to wait behind those arriving at their scheduled time. So as you can tell, a schedule is very important to them. So in here they also have a pre-cruise checklist, information about before you leave home, on the ship, ports of call, embarkation, debarkation, and of course all of those COVID and health dynamics and requirements. Go check the Know Before You Go, see exactly what you need for testing and vaccines, because those are time-bound and very specific. I'm not going to go into them, they're starting to fade out, but make sure you know what is needed for your cruise. Number 2, you want to make sure and have those printed documents ready for the port. You should have already done your check-in at this point, and you will have a check-in time assigned to you during that process. You will need your check-in documents printed as well as passports, birth certificates, etc. And so just check the Know Before You Go. Make sure you know what you need. And you also might want to bring a little bit of cash with you for some tips for the luggage at the port. Number 3, you should be at the port and ready to go on that morning. Make sure you arrive the day before. Get yourself a hotel right by the port so you can see the cruise ship out your window. It is so wonderful to wake up that way and will make your transition to the ship very quick and easy. Before you leave your hotel, there's a few things you're going to want to do. Number 4, it's a good idea to put your swimsuit on under your clothes if you're going to be trying to get on the water coaster, the aqueduct, the aquadunk, or even just lay out by the pool. The Aqueduct is on the Disney Dream and Fantasy. It is their first water coaster at sea, and it goes out over the side of the ship a little bit. It's really fun, especially at night. They also have the Aquadunk on the Magic, which is basically a drop slide. And on the Disney Wish, they have the first attraction at sea, the Aqua Mouse. Those lines can get pretty long, so it is nice if you can do that on your first day. If you've already got your swimsuit on, you can just head straight to the deck. Also a great tip when you've got little ones, they want to go get in the pool. I think one of the very best times is right when you get on the ship. There's just not as many people out there yet. Number 5, you want to make sure you've got breakfast and lunch covered. If we have a 10:45 a.m. boarding time, we'll get on the ship about 11:30, 12 o'clock after they go through all the details. But we will typically skip breakfast on that morning because we go straight to lunch. However, if you've got tiny humans with you or a later check-in time, you might want to make sure you get breakfast before you head to the port. 2 other things you're going to want to do before you leave your hotel room. Number 6, make sure you've got something in your carry-on to occupy your little humans at the terminal. And even if you're traveling as adults only, it can be a good idea to have something to do while you're waiting at the terminal. It is typically about an hour wait. And it can go by pretty fast, especially for adults to just play on your phone a little bit. But if you've got those tiny humans, it's best to have snacks and maybe an activity or 2 ready for them. Make the time go by much quicker and easier. Number 7, you'll want to make sure you have any beer or wine that you are carrying on packed into your carry-on. Each adult 21 and over is allowed to bring on 6 bottles or cans of beers or 2 bottles of wine per person per port. You can bring Prosecco or Champagne. Those qualify as wines. We were brought port on one time and that was fine also. You do have to make sure you carry it on though, and observe those limits per adult. On to number 8, you will finally be getting on the ship. We recommend if there is anything that you were missing, go straight to guest services or dining and request those. For example, we like to request our own table for dinner. They will not guarantee it, but they will certainly take the request. Once you get on board the ship, go straight to where the dining team is located and check in with them and see if they were able to give you your own table, or if they didn't, if they could still do so now. You might also want to check in there if you want Palo reservations, Remy reservations, or if you want to change your dining time from late to early or vice versa. I believe the tastings will have their own location, and then anything else you can go to guest services if you need assistance. Best to do that as soon as you get on board, especially if you were trying to get some type of reservation that you weren't able to get. They might be able to help you out. And usually they can at least put you on a wait list. It's also good to know for your carry-on. The shops on board will not open until you leave port, and they don't open the minute you leave port either. They've got to be out to sea a little bit. So make sure you've double-checked that you have things like toothpaste, brushes, whatever it is that you might need specifically for your family. Make sure you double check that, have it in your carry-on. Just don't have a plan to get it on board as soon as you get on board, because you will not be able to. Those shops don't open until after you leave port. And number 9, it's really good to know that your staterooms will not be available until after 1:30 p.m. If you get on the ship at 11 or 12, and expect to drop off your bags right away, that's not going to work out. So you want to make sure you do your carry-on in one of your easiest rolly bags. That way you can just take it around with you, or even a backpack, whatever works for you. But just know those rooms are typically available after 1:30, and your luggage will not be available until probably 4. Now sometimes it will be there earlier, and sometimes it will be there later. So it could also be a good idea to pack a change of clothes in your carry-on. And number 10, we absolutely love doing the ship tour on that first day. Even if we know the ship, it's just a lot of fun. It will be on your navigator. The navigator is their daily schedules, which will be found on the navigator app on your phone. That ship tour is a lot of fun. You can get some really cool details sometimes, but it's also nice just to help get oriented with the ship and know where things are, and perhaps some things you might want to check into after the tour. I've got 2 pro tips for you for adult dining, and for your little ones, number 11, make sure they go to the icebreakers. If they're going to be going to the youth clubs or the teen clubs or even the preteen club, make sure they go that first night for icebreakers. It will be on the schedule on your navigator app, or you can ask at the club. The clubs also have an open house that first day, so you can go see what they have in there and talk to counselors, etc. For the youth, they have a nursery up to age 3 that does need reservations, and there is a fee. Oceaneer Club and Lab is for ages 3 to 12. Edge is for guests ages 11 to 14. And Vibe is for ages 14 to 17. But you'll want to make sure they go there for that icebreakers. The icebreakers is where they get to know each other, introduce themselves. It's kind of a bonding time, and it helps them have a little group that they are traveling with if they go to the youth clubs a lot. On our very first cruise, I was a single mom with a teenage son in Vibe. Before the cruise, I did some research and found out that a lot of times those tiny humans will not leave the youth club. They love them. He was particularly of the mind that he would not. He didn't need to talk to anybody before going on the cruise. He didn't care about the youth clubs. He was just gonna go because I wanted to go, basically. I had read though how the first night icebreakers is a big deal, and then also just some of the fun things that they do in there: scavenger hunts, DJs, karaoke. They've got like a whole DJ setup on the Disney Fantasy and Dream. It's really fun in these clubs. So he did go to the first night's icebreakers, and we were also seated with 2 other single mothers and their teenage sons. So they had a great time at Vibe. I hardly ever saw him, which is what I had expected. And he's still friends with some of them on Facebook to this day. So those icebreakers are a big deal for the little ones. I think it just helps with feeling like part of the group. Okay, and on to my 2 dining pro tips. All of the first 4 Disney cruise ship have an adults-only restaurant named Palo. This restaurant serves Northern Italian-inspired cuisine in an elegant but relaxed setting. And on 4 nights or longer, they also offer a champagne brunch. We love their brunch. The Palo dining option is $45 per guest, and you do need to make reservations in advance. If you want to go to Palo for dinner and you either don't have the reservation yet, or you'd like to get a second one, there is a way. When you get on the ship, go straight to that dining area and ask if there is availability for Palo for the first night. If you have a Palo reservation for later in your cruise, you can get a second dinner reservation for that first night if you eat at Palo that first night. So if you really like Palo and want to eat there more than once, that's one way you can. Do be aware that they do have a dress code for Palo. There is also something fun on the first night at Remy, and they only have it available on the first night. We have not done this one yet because I just didn't realize, actually. This is called the Petites Assis de Remy. I know I said that wrong, but that's close as I think I'm gonna get. Remy is also adults only, and it is only available on the Dream and the Fantasy. Their dress code is more strict. Make sure you check into that. No jeans, shorts, capri pants, flip-flops, no tennis shoes. Dinner is $125 per person, and brunch is $75 per person. They also have the Remy Dessert Experience, which is $60 per person. Bon Appetit from Chef Arnaud, a French-inspired menu featuring superior seasonal ingredients, ensures dining at Remy is always a first-rate gastronomic affair. Gourmet selections are specially crafted by Chef Scott Hunnell from the award-winning Victoria and Albert's at Walt Disney World Resort, and advising Chef Arnaud Lallement, a 3 Michelin-starred chef. For the Petites Assis de Remy, embark on a tour of Remy and a 6-course wine tasting paired with small plates of gourmet cuisine. Hosted by Remy's executive chef and sommelier, this unique Tiny Plates dining experience is offered during the early evening hours on the first day of your cruise and concludes with dessert at the private chef's table. These dining events are offered during cruises of 4 nights or longer. We did really enjoy Remy when we tried it. I especially enjoyed their steak comparison. And we want to try this one on the first night soon. It sounds really good, and it does have a little bit lower price than the full dinner menu. Plus, tiny tastings with wine pairing sounds delicious. We really enjoy most types of tastings, and I think that one's probably excellent. And that's how to board your Disney cruise like a pro. Leave us a comment below if you've got some ideas you want to share as well. If you haven't seen it yet, go check out our huge Disney cruise news from the D23 Expo, or why Disney Cruise is so different. Thanks for being here, everybody. Thanks for joining in the Disney fun. If you haven't yet, go ahead, subscribe, ring that little bell so you'll know when we put out new videos, and we'll see you real soon with some more Disneys.